now is the winter of our quarantine, made loneliest summer by COVID-19. Welcome to the second episode of Shakespeare Said, What? In which every episode I will take a deep dive into a scene or monologue from Shakespeare's works. Alright, let's dive in. Oh, mother. Mother, what have you done? Behold, the heavens do ope, the gods look down, and this unnatural scene they laugh at. Oh, my mother. Mother. Oh. You have won a happy victory to Rome, but for your son? Believe it, oh. Believe it. Most dangerously you have with him prevailed, if not most mortal to him. But let it come. O Phidias, though I cannot make true war, I will frame convenient peace. Now go to Phidias. Were you in my stead, would you have heard a mother less or granted less, O Phidias? I dare be sworn you wouldn't. And good sir, it is no little thing to make mine eyes to sweat compassion. But good sir, what peace you'll make, advise me. For my part, I'll not to Rome, I'll back with you, and pray that you stand to me in this cause. Oh, mother, wife. Aye, by and by, but we will drink, and you will bear a better witness back than words which we on like conditions will have countersealed. Come and enter with us. Ladies, you deserve to have a temple built you. All the swords in Italy and her Confederate arms could not have made this peace. All right, so for this monologue, I really wanted to explore a little bit of gender in Shakespeare. So what I looked into this week was sort of the relationships between men and women in at least his histories and his tragedies. I don't know how much you can apply this to his comedies because it's a very different dynamic, but at least in these, often the male protagonist is a warrior of some sort. Almost in all the histories or the tragedies, it's a general or something like that, unless it's something about kids, such as Romeo and Juliet. And what I discovered this week was that a lot of times these male protagonists are really, really stubborn. They will have a lot of people advising them or telling them what to do, and almost always they end up doing their own thing, which inevitably leads to the tragedy of whatever play is happening. And what I discovered is that a lot of times the people advising them are the women. And it's not just any women, it's the women that, in a lot of cases, are considered Shakespeare's strong women. We've got Desdemona in Othello, we have Portia and Fulvia in Julius Caesar, and we have another example is God, what is her name? Oh, Jesus Christ. And Cleopatra in Antony and Cleopatra. In my discovery, I found that in a lot of these cases, these women have these really powerful emotional monologues, and then the men hear them and they take them in, and maybe they're affected emotionally, but they usually end up doing what they were going to do anyway. Antony leaves. Othello just goes ahead and says, "You're out of your mind, Desdemona. I know you're cheating on me." And both Brutus and Julius Caesar end up doing what they were going to do. Julius Caesar goes to work, gets murdered. Brutus doesn't listen to Portia and goes and murders his best friend Caesar. So, and those are the things that ultimately end up leading to the tragedy. So what I found really interesting in this monologue is from Coriolanus, which is one of Shakespeare's least done plays. I personally love it. I didn't really know anything about it, and then I saw Tom Hiddleston do it in London, and it blew me away, and it became one of my favorite plays. I don't know if it's actually because of the play or because of Tom Hiddleston's performance. Who knows? Nobody will ever know. So essentially, if you don't know the play of Coriolanus, what's happening is Coriolanus has turned on Rome, and he is coming to its gates to tear it down. And basically, he's the greatest general of all time, so there's no way that Rome is going to survive this. And they've realized this, so they send his mother, his wife, and his son to come to try and convince him that he shouldn't do this. And his wife gives a speech, the son says a couple words, and his mother gives a speech. And it looks like it's not going to work at all. And then his mother gives another speech, and it's this really long speech. And at which point they get on their knees and they basically beg him, and she appeals to his honor, which is another major thing for these male warrior characters in Shakespeare. It's all about honor. It's all about who you're going to be remembered as, your legacy. And as soon as she does that, Coriolanus flips, and she mentions that he's going to go down as being remembered as this aberration, and that he will have spilled the blood of his daughter, of his wife, his mother, and his son. And as soon as that happens, he gives this speech, which is the flipping, and it's essentially him saying, "You're right, I can't go through with this. I'm gonna die. I'm going to turn myself over to Rome and inherently die." So what's fascinating about this is it's a speech in which a warrior man, actually listens to the strong woman, and that is what turns him around. And I'm pretty sure it's one of, if not the only case of that happening. I mean, there are other cases of men listening to strong women. The most obvious one is Macbeth. We know how that goes. So it's very interesting, and that's why I love this speech, is because it's a strong man giving in to the strong woman, which, thanks to the misogyny of Shakespeare, we don't see a lot of. And what makes it doubly interesting in a larger context is that it's his mother. A lot of cases, the strong women are the wife. All of the ones I listed earlier are the wives. Lady Macbeth, the wife. Parents, a lot of cases in Shakespeare, are sort of side characters. I mean, obviously The Tempest, totally different thing. But whatever the child's arc is almost always has to do with them moving away from the parent. Miranda, her moving away from her father, is the crux of almost the entire Tempest. Romeo and Juliet, both of them defying their parents is what leads to the romance, what leads to the plot. Even in his comedies, in A Midsummer Night's Dream, the main character denying her parents and running away into the forest with her lover is what spawns that entire plot. So people moving away and not listening to their parents a lot of times in Shakespeare is what drives the plot, what drives the character development. In this case, again, it's a twist on it, because it's this incredibly strong male who has forged his way to being the strongest general in Roman history, listening to his parent, listening to a woman that is his mother, and that is what gets him. And I just think that is so beautiful. Discoveries, yay! During the monologue, Coriolanus constantly talks to Phidias, and if you don't know the story, basically Phidias is Coriolanus' number one man. He's, his general, all of this stuff. So he's the only other person in the room that is allowed to hear this conversation with the mother and the wife. And Coriolanus, during this monologue, keeps talking to him and saying things like, "It's no small thing to make me cry. Would you have listened to a mother this way?" And it's very interesting because, again, going off this theme of the warrior man who needs to feel that he is a man and his honor, it seems to me like the discovery here in this monologue is him looking to the other man in the room and saying, is it okay that I'm actually feeling things, that I am changing my mind and listening to a woman instead of standing strong and being a warrior man? And the thing that I love here is actually Phidias' response, which I cut out because it actually happens in the middle of this monologue, where Coriolanus says, now good Phidias, were you in my stead, would you have heard a mother less, or granted less, Phidias? And instead of just continuing on, Phidias then says, I was moved withal. And then Coriolanus responds, I dare be sworn you were. So that's very interesting, because it means that the other manly man in this room, or warrior man as we've defined it here, is granting Coriolanus the ability to feel this way. And that's what's so striking about this, is it's not, yes, it's amazing that Coriolanus is one of the few examples of a man actually being changed by a woman, specifically his mother, but the fact that another man in this situation was also changed. We hear later that maybe Phidias was a little bit more thinking about the bigger picture of Rome and saving Rome, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. He's giving Coriolanus permission to be an emotional man, and I think that is really key in understanding that. And such a cool discovery about this is that even though these warrior men, these kings, these princes that Shakespeare wrote, giving into their emotion and being given permission by the people that they see as the other strong forces in the room to feel that way. So that's what I wanted to share with you this week. Autumn Chickless went ahead and identified the quote parody from last week. So again, if you can call out which one I did this week, I will shout you out in the next video. I hope to see you then. Please comment your thoughts, your opinions. If you have examples that show that I am completely off base with this, please tell me. These are just things that I'm exploring every week. And I look forward to seeing you again. All right. Bye. And if you didn't notice, I went ahead and actually said "oh" at the beginning of this speech and a couple times throughout it. I know in the last episode I made this big deal about O's not actually being O's, but if it feels like that is the most genuine expression of that thing, which in this case I do, say it. The world is your stage. I'll see you next week.